If you've ever wondered how you can own, manage, and operate a self-storage facility and run a profitable self-storage business remotely from anywhere in the world, then stick around, because in this video, I'm going to share with you how I've been able to buy and operate multiple facilities across the country while living in Miami and having these facilities thousands and thousands of miles away from me. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because one of the many reasons I love the self-storage asset class is because it gives you the ability to run and operate this business remotely without the need for employees. And you can run this business with just a mobile phone, a laptop, an internet connection. You don't need employees. You don't need a big management team. It's low overhead and it can be run remotely. Now, let me first start by addressing the elephant in the room, because I've had numerous conversations with people throughout the years that want to get involved in the self-storage asset class. They want to buy their first facility, but they feel they need to own the facility in their backyard, right? So in other words, the feeling of comfort and safety and being able to go and feel, touch, and see the storage facility gives them a false sense of security. Here's the truth. You don't need to live where the storage facility is located. Now, if you happen to live in a secondary market or a tertiary market, then fantastic, because that's where we look for self-storage facilities. We don't look for storage facilities in big metropolitan cities like Miami, like Nashville, like Dallas. Why? Because those are run and dominated by the REITs, the real estate investment trusts, which own Public Storage, CubeSmart, Extra Space, U-Haul. Those are the markets where those big Class A facilities tend to dominate. And those are not the markets we're looking at. We're looking at the small mom and pop operated facilities in markets that have a population as low as 5,000 to 8,000 people, all the way up to 70, 80, maybe 100,000 people. So with that being said, I just had a conversation with somebody not too long ago that said, hey, I've been looking at getting involved in storage. I want to buy my first storage facility. So I'm looking to buy land so that I can build my first storage facility. And that's a whole separate conversation, right? Because building can be profitable if you're buying in a market that has a lot of demand for storage. But let's be honest, you're likely not going to be making any money for 3 to 5 years, right? You have to find the right piece of property. You have to go through the building and development process, which can take years. And then you're starting from ground zero. You're starting with 0% occupancy, and it might likely take you 6, 12, 18 months to lease up and actually start generating revenue and making a profit. So I like to focus on low-hanging fruit, mom and pop operated storage facilities in these smaller markets. And I love these facilities because I live here in Miami. I don't have to go move to those markets. In fact, I don't even have to go travel and see these facilities all that often. One of the myths that is out there in storage is that you need to operate where you live. And that's just not the case. Every single storage facility I have bought has been thousands and thousands of miles away. Let's take my Amelia Island facility, which is 45 minutes north of Jacksonville on a barrier island. I live in Miami. I'd have to hop on a flight to go see this facility. And I have seen this facility twice in my life. And I've owned it for almost 3 years. Now, you might be asking, well, how are you able to do that? How are you able to run, manage, and operate a profitable storage facility remotely? Well, let me first address one thing that you may be thinking about. The only time that I ever go travel to see a storage facility, there's a couple instances. The first is when I'm under contract to do my due diligence, right? In fact, I literally, within the last 10 minutes, I just got off the phone with Mario, one of our Storage Wins community members, one of my coaching clients, who is in Springfield, Missouri, doing his on-site due diligence on a storage facility that he just went under contract on. And so we did a FaceTime. He was walking me through the facility, showing me, and I'm just super pumped, super excited for his growth and progress. And I can't wait to see him succeed with this facility. Now, I'm going to cover a separate video about the due diligence process and going through our checklist and exactly what you need to do. But Mario also lives in Miami, and he's in Springfield, Missouri, about to close on his very first storage facility. How is he able to do that remotely? Well, there's a couple different things. We go through a 3-pronged management system, and I'm going to break it down exactly how this works. Because of technology and because of all the tools, resources, and systems that we can leverage, we are able to run these facilities from anywhere in the world. Had we had this conversation, or if I would recording this video 30 years ago, then it would be a very different video. We wouldn't have had the ability to run and operate these remotely, at least not with all the efficiencies that we currently have today. So because this is an asset class that has really grown throughout the years and technology has advanced to the point where I can live in Miami and I can own a facility in Oregon or California or north of Jacksonville, it doesn't really matter. And I want to debunk the myth that you feel like you may need to be where the facility is located so that you could drive there if there's a problem or if there's an issue. Here's the truth of the matter. Storage, there's very few emergencies in storage. Short of your building getting caught on fire or something crazy like that, there's very few emergencies, right? We haven't really had to deal with too many things where you have to stop everything you're doing, drop what you're doing, and address the issue. Yes, there's challenges from time to time, as with any business, but nothing that is ever an emergency. So it's a slow, boring business, and that's one of the things I love about it. So let's go ahead and talk about this three-pronged management system, which allows me and coaching clients within the Storage Wins community to run and operate these facilities from wherever they live and the facilities anywhere in the country. So the first part of the management system is we have a boots on the ground team member. So every time we identify a storage facility that we're going to buy, during the due diligence period, we start interviewing, we place an ad and we start interviewing what is called a boots on the ground team member. And the boots on the ground team member, his or her responsibility is to go to the facility once or twice a week, depending on the size of the facility, but generally speaking, I would say once or twice a week. And they're the ones that keep the grounds clean. They're the ones that do cleanouts, unit cleanouts, right? So if somebody moves out of a unit, they broom sweep it, they tag it, they close it, and they put that unit, they work with our management company to put that unit online so that we can rent it as quickly as possible. They do lock audits and they do overlocks, right? So when one of our customers doesn't pay, there's a specific process we follow. Well, the boots on the ground team member will put a Da Vinci overlock, right? So that now that customer, not only does their gate code not work, so they can't get into the facility, but even if they did, there's an overlock. So they wouldn't be able to just put their code in and open the door and access their contents. So there's consequence to not paying, right? They're not able to access their things, and depending on where the asset's located, they're gonna have anywhere on average 60 to 70 days before the contents of that unit are gonna get auctioned off, so that we can make a little bit of money, but more importantly, we can have our boots on the ground broom sweep it and get that unit back online. So our boots on the ground team member at our facility, he's usually there once a week, sometimes twice a week if we may need something from him. Here's the cool thing about the boots on the ground team member. This is an independent contractor, it's not an employee, and we pay anywhere between $400 and $600 per month for this boots on the ground team member to go to the facility once or twice a week. And we have a very specific system and process that he needs to follow. It's very, very simple work. I always like my boots on the ground team members to also be handymen or handy women if possible. And so that helps us save some money when they're able to do some of the work and we don't have to source that out. So we have the boots on the ground team member, extremely, extremely important. As a quick side note and as a tip, always check your local fire department, because firefighters, generally speaking, are looking for extra side gigs or an extra side hustle. At Amelia Personal Storage, my storage facility just north of Jacksonville, our first boots on the ground, in fact, for the first couple of years, was a firefighter that happened to be right across the street. So he was actually out at the facility more frequently, and it was just a smooth process overall. So I like to check the fire department. You can even check with existing customers who maybe have been storing their contents at the storage facility for a number of years. They happen to know the facility very well. If they're a handyman or a handy woman, that's a big bonus. So check with your existing customer base. That could be, you could potentially find a boots on the ground team member. And then I always like to place an ad on Indeed.com. Indeed.com, we have a very specific ad that tends to pull a lot of applicants. We make them jump through a few minor hoops, and then we have somebody interview that boots on the ground team member. So Now, if you're in a really, really small market, right, low population, maybe it's a rural area, you might be able to get away with paying $200 to $300 a month. So you'll adjust that based on the location and based on the market. But of all the facilities that I've owned and operated, I've never paid more than $600. In fact, I'm sorry, that's not true. I've never paid more than $700 per month. And that was only for a period of time because there was a lot of work that was happening during that season. On average, we're paying about $600 per month for our boots on the ground team member. That is not an employee, it's an independent contractor. Now, the second part of this system is the call center. So you will definitely, unless it's a very small facility or unless you have in-house management, then you're going to want to work with a call center. So because I tend to focus on facilities that are generally speaking 20,000 net rentable square feet and up, these facilities generate a healthy amount of revenue that I can afford to get a third-party management company to manage the day-to-day operations of the business. Now, it's super important. And if you're a single family, if you have single family rentals, if you're a landlord and you self-manage or you have a management company, you always, even if you have a management company, you have to manage the manager. What you inspect is what you'll get, right? And so there has to be a level of accountability. There has to be frequent communication. There has to be touch points. There has to be a cadence and a rhythm as to how you communicate with the management company and how you manage them, right? So if your idea is to just, hey, turn over this storage facility over to a management company and then, maybe give me an update once every blue moon, that's not going to work out well for you. Oftentimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so it's super, super important that you are managing the property manager. There's a clear set of expectations and that you're monitoring and checking the KPIs. Every 2 weeks, I have a meeting with my partner and our third-party management company, and we review the key performance indicators. We review the physical occupancy, the economic occupancy, how many move-ins we've gotten, how many move-outs, how many units are offline and unrentable. Why? What is the plan? We review customer service. How many Google reviews have we gotten? What's the level of satisfaction? So there's very specific things. This is usually about a 30 to 45 minute meeting that we do every other week. And squeaky wheel gets the grease. We're on top of them. We're making sure that they're hitting certain numbers and then we're making sure that our customers are happy, are satisfied. We are providing a safe, clean product for them to store their valuables and their content. And that's super, super important. You need happy, satisfied, and fulfilled customers in order for them to stick with your facility so that you continue to generate consistent cash flow month after month after month. So we've talked about the boots on the ground team member. We've talked about a call center, right? So let me dive a little bit deeper there. When sometimes I have friends and family that ask me hey, what happens if a customer gets locked out of their unit? Or what happens if they can't access their gate code? Well, the truth of the matter is that I don't speak to the customers, right? They don't call me. They're not calling my cell phone. I'm not dealing with typical landlord 2 a.m., 3 a.m. type phone calls. They call the call center. And the call center, we have a customer service team that is trained and understands how to address whatever concerns or issues they might have. And if it needs to get escalated, which doesn't really happen that often, we have standard operating procedures that the call center and scripts that the call center follows to be able to address any type of customer issues. If somebody wants to rent a unit, right, we have signs throughout our facility that have QR codes. And so they can snap a picture of the QR code. It automatically takes them to see the available units that we have, and they can just check out and rent a unit on their mobile phone. We also have a website if they choose to go to the website, and we provide them with the phone number. Now, the phone number also goes to the call center, and they're trained on how to answer their questions and essentially get them onboarded and into a unit. Right? They rent a unit, they automatically get text a gate code. They go to the storage unit number that was sent to them via text and email that they're assigned to. They open the door and there's a lock ready for them, ready to go. So everything is done remotely here, right? We're not signing paper leases. They sign their lease agreement, their month-to-month lease agreement on their mobile phone or their tablet. Literally everything is done remotely. We run what's called an unmanned model, right? So what I mean by unmanned is that in traditional storage, at least when I was a kid and my parents had a storage unit, you might go into a storage facility and you'd walk into an office and talk to somebody behind the desk. You'd have to fill out some paperwork. They would give you a key, they give you a lock, and they tell you where to find the unit, right? Well, when you go to our storage facility, there's actually not a physical person that you can speak to. Like, you can't walk into an office and talk to somebody. You either have to call the phone number, which is gonna get routed to our call center, or you rent a unit online. So again, everything is done remotely. And here's the great thing about this. This is what provides for time freedom. This is one of the reasons that, to me, this is the best asset class within real estate, is because we can run these businesses. It's a business that has the benefits of real estate. We can run these remotely, right? So whenever I'm traveling with the family or whenever I go somewhere, like, I don't have to physically be in one place in order to manage, operate these storage facilities, these businesses. And it's a very scalable business. So this same unmanned model is what I've done on every single storage facility that I've purchased. It's what our storage wins, my coaching clients, are doing right now. In fact, there's most of the storage owners and operators I know don't own storage in their backyard. Now, in some cases they do, but I would say by and large, the majority, these assets are hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from them. And I wanna start to wrap up. The third part of this three-prong management system is the management company. Now, if you are looking at a smaller facility that doesn't generate enough revenue that can support or sustain the expense of a third-party management company, then that would be you. You or somebody on your team would be responsible for managing the boots on the ground team member. In my case, our third-party management company manages the boots on the ground team member. So, 6, 7, 8 months ago, when I owned the portfolio in Mississippi prior to selling it, that facility, that portfolio, I should say, 80,000 square feet, I might have spent an hour a week, maybe an hour and a half a week managing that. The reason is because I had a reputable third-party management company that specializes in managing and operating these storage facilities. They were the ones managing the day-to-day operations. They were the ones managing the boots on the ground team member. I was the one managing the manager, like I talked about earlier. So in this particular case, I have Mario, who's in Springfield, Missouri, and he's doing the on-site due diligence. He's got a smaller facility, right? It's a little bit under 10,000 square feet. He's getting an awesome deal on it. It doesn't need a lot of work, what we call capital expenditures, very low capex. He's not going to have a third-party management company managing that asset. Why? Because that particular facility is not going to generate enough revenue to be able to justify the expense of a third-party management company. So he will likely find a really good boots on the ground person, and then he's going to be managing the boots on the ground team member. And the cool thing is that's not going to take him much time, right? Mario might spend a handful of hours a week initially, right, on that facility, especially such a small facility. I'm probably exaggerating a handful of hours. That's going to be a very simple, easy facility to manage. Mario lives in Miami. This asset's in Springfield, Missouri. It's just about finding the right boots on the ground team member, which is not difficult if you kind of follow our process and our playbook. And he would be the one managing the boots on the ground team member. So depending on the size of the facility, depending on how much revenue the facility generates, will determine and dictate, do you have the option to go third-party management, or will you self-manage, right? Either way, you're definitely going to want to have a boots on the ground team member. I like to have a call center. Now, in a case like Mario's, where I think this facility is under 50 units or so, he could probably easily take those calls. I wouldn't recommend that for him. I would probably have somebody on his team be able to take those calls. But with that many units, you're not really going to have a whole lot of phone traffic, a lot of phone calls. It's going to be a very simple facility to manage, so he can probably save on the expense of a call center. But most of the times, I like to have a call center. I like to have a third-party management company if the revenue and the size of the facility can support that. and then we have our boots on the ground team member. Now, the last part of this equation is we always have a storage, an online platform. I use storage. ESS, Easy Storage Solutions, is another common one. And think of this as the CRM for your storage business. It's built specifically for the storage business and for storage operators. And on here we have our dashboard. It tells us where our occupancy is. It tells us how many units are offline, unrentable, how many units are available. It gives us the site map. It shows us our management summary report, right? How much revenue have we collected up until that day? How many net move-ins do we have, right? Move-ins versus minus move-outs. It tells us all our different fee income, right? So tenant protection revenue, admin fees, late fees, lock fees, right? Another reason I love the storage asset class is because all of the different income streams and revenue streams that the business can provide. So I wanted to just kind of share with you and give you a 30,000 foot view of how I and my coaching clients are able to buy these storage facilities and run them remotely, right? So if you are somebody watching this that you've had the mindset and the belief that, hey, I can only find storage in my backyard because I need to be there so that I can manage it and I can deal with customer issues and I can put out fires and I can see it and touch it and feel it. Hopefully I can break that mindset that you need to be there. In fact, I would argue that if you're there, it could be a detriment to your storage business because you might be in there like messing things up when it's a very simple, straightforward business to manage and operate. So with that being said, if you like this video, I really want to encourage you, subscribe, because I'm going to be putting out more and more content about self-storage and about how you can profit from this incredible asset class, how you can generate more cash flow, build long-term wealth so that you can have time freedom and financial freedom. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, then you're going to want to check out one of these right here. Have a great day.